Welcome to the Big Four Accounting Firms podcast, brought to you by big4accountingfirms.com. We bring you the latest news regarding the Big Four, along with unique Big Four recruiting advice and the best Big Four career tips to help you with your Big Four career. Hope you enjoy the show. In today's podcast, we're going to be discussing another accounting scandal involving PwC. In today's scandal that we're going to discuss, PwC faces the largest auditor malpractice verdict ever in the United States. And this verdict might be handed down in the lawsuit of the FDIC versus PwC. And the reason FDIC is suing PwC is because of their audit of Colonial Bank, which we covered previously in this podcast. Now, Colonial Bank is the bank that collapsed in Florida and has had PwC tangled up in lawsuits over the past couple of years. Colonial Bank and their affiliate Taylor Bean went bankrupt in 2009, and both the trustees of those bankruptcies and the FDIC have been after PwC ever since they went under. Now, how much money could the FDIC be rewarded? The FDIC could be awarded up to $625 million in this lawsuit. And this verdict depends on what the judge, Barbara Rothstein, determines to be reasonable. Now, the FDIC and PwC are far apart in what they estimate that the verdict will be. PwC estimates that they will only have to pay about $306 million. But even if that were the amount to be paid, it would still be one of the largest payouts ever for malpractice by an accounting firm. And this award comes from the decision by Barbara Rothstein in late 2017, when she assessed that PwC was negligent in their audit of Colonial Bank in 2009. And the reason this is happening is because the FDIC had to liquidate Colonial Bank's deposits, and they sold about $22 billion of deposits to BB&T, which is another bank, and they had to end up paying depositors about $2 billion as a result of the Colonial Bank liquidation. So the FDIC is really just trying to get themselves whole, and they won't even make themselves whole. They're only going to make up a portion of it by receiving $625 million potentially. So the FDIC is really just trying to recover some of the money that they are forced to pay out. Now, what does this mean for PwC and the Big Four? Well, Taylor Bean and Colonial Bank went bankrupt in the last recession in 2009, and PwC is still facing the ramification of that 10 years later. And since it appears that we might be facing another downturn in the United States soon, PwC needs to be aware that some of their clients might be facing hard times, and they need to audit with more tenacity than they are used to. Otherwise, they'll be facing another large malpractice verdict. And as Big Four accountants, you guys should also be more focused on your clients. And if there is a downturn to come, you should dig into work papers a little bit more, plan your audits out a little bit better. And with this podcast regarding the Colonial Bank verdict and also the previous podcast about the private bank lawsuit, you can see that banks are going to have difficult times if we do face a recession. So if you can plan your audit accordingly and raise awareness to partners, then you can really set yourself apart. And you don't really have to do a lot of work to do that, right? You don't have to plan the whole audit yourself or come up with new great ideas of how to risk assess. But if you just bring it up in a meeting, you can really set yourself apart because you'll show that you're at least thinking about it and aware of the risks. And you can even bring up these cases and saying, hey, we don't want to be the next private bank or the next Colonial Bank, so let's make sure we're considering this. You know, it's all about politics and making yourself look good. And so this is a couple of news stories here that you can utilize to your advantage.
We appreciate your help in growing this podcast so we can continue to bring you the best Big Four content possible. You could help us out by providing a review on iTunes, sending us an email with your comments, and don't forget to share with your friends. There's a link below in the show notes. That's our show for today. Thanks for listening and have a great day.